Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Super Feeler podcast. My name is Lori, and I'm really excited today to be joined by Sarah, who is a new friend. We don't know that much about each other, and we've been chatting back and forth over email for months now. And so I'm really excited to get a chance to chat and get to know a little bit more about you. So when did borderline personality disorder kind of get into your life?
When I was 17, I had an accident. It was a car accident.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, I clearly remember I was in the hospital for a long period of time. I had severe brain injury and all these other injuries. And then once I was well enough to be released from the hospital, the surgeon who did surgery on my brain, he thought I tried to commit suicide. And
Okay.
so
Like in the hospital?
No, my
Oh, okay,
accident.
like previously.
My accident.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I knew that was a absolute no.
Yeah.
But still, because he thought that, then I had to be put into the psychiatric ward. My psychiatrist that I had for a couple of years, he knew that I didn't try
Right.
to commit suicide. He knew. And he fought, I don't know how long I was in the psychiatric ward. I barely remember it. But when I came out of the psychiatric ward, my psychiatrist was there with me, and he said, "Well, she still suffers from severe depression, but also BPD."
Oh, and you didn't know that?
I got it from my accident.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Prior to my accident, he did not see me as BPD.
Huh.
After my accident, he did, and I remember him saying that, and it going into my head and just being like, depression, you just take medication for it, it goes away,
Yeah.
or, that sort of thing. And so life went on, and with my husband, I forget, maybe around 2015 or maybe earlier.
And when was the accident? Sorry, just so that I can chronologically put this together.
1991.
Okay, okay, long time ago.
I have it tattooed on me. August 27th, 1991.
Wow, it was that impactful. Well, I mean,
Almost quarter
obviously
after
impactful.
one.
Yeah. Does it say that on the tattoo?
So I have it because of the law settlement. I'm in a ball and chain.
Yes. Oh, that's
And then
awesome. I love that tattoo.
it has the words, another turning point, a fork in the road.
Wow, beautiful.
Well, that's a song by Green Day.
Yeah.
Green Day came out with that song in 1998. I know this because when that song came out, all my friends thought he wrote it for me. And I'm like, he doesn't know me.
Yeah, you're like, that's not possible.
It's like, it reminded me of Imagine the movie about John Lennon, and
Yes, yes.
he had to talk to the young man saying, I don't know you, I don't rate with you, it's me. And
Yeah.
I had that going through my head. I'm like, he doesn't know me, he doesn't know anything
That's
about me.
funny.
He had it it was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
A complete coincidence. And it's because that words of the song, the whole song, everybody thinks is about me, and it's like, no, it's not about me, it's just,
Related.
yeah.
Or like relatable, yeah.
Yes, Jesse knew, he knew about my accident right away. Like we knew everything about each other basically. I stopped talking to my brother and mother in 2010, so I think it was about 2015. Things started going crazy with me. So Jesse started looking up BPD and started learning about it. He found counseling for it, for him, for me, but I didn't do any of it. But he learned all about it.
Okay.
And
And when
so,
you say things were going crazy for you, like what were the behaviors that he was seeing that he was like, something's wrong?
well,
All of it?
I've had crazy behaviors. Yeah, I've always been crazy. It's just
Yeah.
he just never knew what to do. And before, I used to drink a lot, and that was because I always thought I always had the alcohol to cover up the pain, because I have a horrible family. The only person in my family that has any care for me is my father. And it's like being raised that way. It was horrible. And then as I got older, thinking it was going to go away, it never went away. People always telling me, everybody saw it. It's like seeing inside the box. And they would say to me, just pack your stuff up. You don't deserve this. Pack your stuff up,
Right.
get out, and don't look back. And
Even
I
as a
would be
kid or as like a young adult?
no, a young adult.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it'll change. They'll grow up.
Yeah.
And then I finally, when Winston was diagnosed with cancer, that was in October of 2010, and
Hmm.
he was my life because I named him after John Lennon, and
Yeah.
he was him and Cleo were my first cats that I raised on my own. He
Hmm.
was the most expensive cat I've ever had, um, but he kept it all in. I knew something was wrong.
Yeah. They're good at
I
that.
Yeah, I can communicate with animals. And
Mm.
it's like when it's something bad, I try to block it out. And I kept trying to block it out. And I could tell he was holding it in because my sister got married in August of 2010. And so he knew that if I knew he was sick, I wouldn't go
Right.
to her wedding. And I wish he had let me know because I regret going to her wedding. But
Right.
yeah, right when we got back, the next day he became extremely ill. We found out he had cancer, and I reached out to my family, and I got the most horrible things said to me by my mother and my brother. And they, holy, my husband was seeing the emails, and at the exact same time, he put his foot down and said, "That's it, no more." And I said, that's okay. I want nothing more to do with them. I cannot deal with this.
Even your brother who's in the Yukon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just, I've learned it's emotional abuse,
Yeah.
severe emotional abuse. Jesse wanted me to cut contact with them a long time ago. Like we moved here. It was just after we moved to our house here. And he would bring it up once in a while, but he wasn't going to push me. He wasn't going to control me. But when it got to this point, he was like, "That's it, no more. That's it." He saw what they were saying, and that was it. And I said, "That's okay, no more." So he knows computers, so he had it. So any email that they sent to me would go directly to him.
Oh, genius. So he
So
could
that
deal with, or
way,
he could at least see what they were. If there was something
yeah.
like somebody died or something, at least somebody would
Or
know.
somebody
Yeah.
was getting married, which ended up happening. So my dad lived with us for a while, and my dad and I have always been very, very close, but he also has my sister who's the baby, and the baby's always the baby. It never
Yeah.
changes. And I had complications with her, and I stopped talking to her around 2019, 2020. Something happened to me, and I was just like, that's it, no more. I can't
Yeah.
deal with this anymore. And I stopped talking to my dad around the same time because I didn't want him in the middle of everything.
Mm.
And then a couple of years ago, I started talking to my dad once in a while just through email. And then on the 18th, he's coming for a visit, and I haven't seen him in years. And I'm like, well, Dad, I hope you're ready to see a lot more tattoos on me. And I was going to do my hair, but I didn't because I didn't want to and all this because I don't want to give you a heart attack.
Right. Yes. You're like, we'll just keep it chill. I'll wear a long sleeve. It's winter. It's fine.
So it's like all over my hands and everything,
Yeah. So
and
you can't hide it too much.
no, and my dad likes it hot, so I'm going to be in tank top and
Right.
shorts,
Oh,
and
well.
I'm covered, and he had a lot. There's most tattoos he's seen. No. A lot of them he hasn't seen. I
Right.
have I have my Edgar Allan Poe, my favorite poem, tattooed on the back of my left leg, and
Okay.
John Lennon Imagine every word to the song on the back of my
Hmm.
right leg.
Oh, wow.
And so he's gonna get a surprise of that, and then my hands and my face.
Yeah. Well, he'll live. It's fine. Yeah. So back to the BPD thing. So you said at first you were not really, like, your husband was willing to kind of understand, get help, but you weren't, is kind of what I gathered. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And why weren't you willing? And how did that shift? Or did it?
I it was kind of like I had so much or nothing going on, or my just so much going on in my brain that it wasn't right. And then we hit a bad spot where we separated for about a month, and he basically
Mm,
said, "You get help, I'll come home." And
right.
so I got help, and that's when I started seeing a counselor they have BPD, they've gone through it all and everything.
Oh, amazing.
And yeah, who I had, he was absolutely amazing, and it was everything he was teaching me about BPD. You know, this is. I'm like, oh, oh, like my life started making sense.
Right.
Certain things. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like everything, like my life was a big puzzle. Like, why the hell
Yeah.
did I do this? Did I do that? But finally everything's being put together.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, my husband came home and they have BPD meetings every Sunday. Used to be Wednesday or something like that, but because they got so many people, they had to move it to a weekend. Sunday's better.
And where is
And
at like at the through the health agency? Like
no,
how?
it's online. It's through they started it, the girl who started it, she lives in Victoria.
Oh yes, BPD Society of BC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Gotcha. Yes, I'm on their board.
yeah.
That's funny. I was like, is it that? Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I'll link
And
that
it
in the
was
chat too.
yeah, and it was amazing like finding people who I I was going to say I thought I was crazy, and now I know I'm not, but actually I am
Yeah.
crazy, and I actually preferred being crazy.
Right. But you can
I
find other people who you relate to that are also the same way of crazy. That yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
and when you
helpful.
talk about things, they can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like what was it? Day before yesterday, my husband after work, I was sick, and he went to get the mail and then went to pick up some groceries. He came home and he said, the street's closed off. What do you mean? He said, well, the street's closed off. I don't know what it's called after Emerson, but it's closed off. There's a fire truck sitting there waiting, and ambulance sitting there waiting, and police everywhere.
Mm,
We've lived here 24 years and we've never had anything happen.
yeah.
And so I went, there was nothing. They wouldn't say anything. And we finally found out it was due to mentally ill uh, person. They were having problems with it. Started in the morning,
Mm.
and they called the North Vancouver RCMP to come over to give them some help.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then
That's a
it
long
was
trek.
just after 4 when my husband left, and just after 4 I shortly after he left, I heard a bunch of sirens come to our neighborhood, and I'm like,
Mm.
okay, well, used to them. We live close to a main road, and we'll hear
Right.
sirens there, but come into our
But it's
neighborhood
not
is
a
hard.
large community. Yeah, and you're
No,
not seeing
well,
sirens all the time.
it's
Is it a
larger
big
now.
community? Well, yeah, larger, but you're not. It's not like you're in downtown Vancouver and you hear sirens every 30 seconds. You
No,
know.
it's like the only sirens we know. When we first moved here, sirens on the highway we would never hear. Now we hear them. There's all the
Mm.
trees have come down and everything. And when they come to our neighborhood, which is hardly ever, we hear them and they'll stop. And I told my husband this. They take the sirens off when they come into our
Right.
neighborhood for respect of. And I thought, okay, is my husband okay? And I'm thinking, no, he's been gone long enough. He's fine. I don't need to phone him. It's something else in the neighborhood. And then finding this out when he got home. And then finding out yesterday it was a mentally ill patient that they were trying to get out of the house, the RCMP, and they got the North Vancouver police in. It was just after 4 that the police got here and everything and then they kicked in the door, and that's the loud noise that everybody heard.
Mm.
And everything went fine. They got them out. And I said to Jesse, they really need to think of these things, but mentally ill people, if there's a problem, it's better to have somebody mentally ill talking to them because
100%.
because we
Get it.
understand each other better.
Yeah.
It's like if they get mentally ill, yeah, there are police and firemen and paramedics who have training for all
Yeah.
different.
And who are mentally ill, but they're not coming in with that lens, right? Like it's different when you go to a peer support group, like you were talking about, where you go in and that's why you're here. It's a different dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like if they wanted somebody out of the house that was mentally ill, send in somebody who suffers the same mental illness, but
Yeah.
is they could probably get the person out just peacefully and absolutely
Totally.
fine. And it's like,
Yeah.
why don't they ever think of that?
I know. So it sounds like you saw a lot of value of connecting with people that also have BPD, right? And so did you keep seeing that one therapist, or did you ever do DBT or anything like that?
I did that one therapist for till I felt that was okay. Like
Hmm.
I and I I would always be in the groups unless I was ill or something. And we haven't been to a group though in like over a year now, which is really
Oh, wow.
weird. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
after they started doing it Sundays, and it's
Mm,
just
yeah, harder to navigate.
and yeah, and with me, I have to have things. I found out from my last psychiatrist I talked to. Apparently, because of my BPD, I have ADD.
Oh, okay.
And I have to have, like, if I do certain things at specific times, then not every day, then that's the way it is. And to go off of that, it's hard for me to
Yeah,
change
that's
that.
fair.
Yeah.
I have
And
a
so,
problem with that too. I'm like big on routine, and once the routine changes even like slightly, I get a little bit disoriented and it takes me a long time to get back into it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like trying to, there's a lot of things I'm trying to change. And it's like, well, then I've, like, it's just, it's just hard to all of a sudden change. And like to change to the Sunday, it haven't been trying really hard, but it's just different. We have to throw
Mhm.
off our Sundays of what we usually do. And I have started doing that.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to think like in terms of you said that your psychiatrist after your accident said that the accident kind of caused the BPD, but it also sounds like you had a really rough childhood. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but
That's
curious if you think that anything from your childhood and your upbringing also impacted you now.
Yeah, a lot did because my younger sister, I'm the middle child, and my mother would always try to think of, she'd find reasons why I was the way I was.
Mm,
And it's like, she's a, I was always the problem.
yeah,
I
makes
was the
sense.
one, if there was ever another problem, I was blamed for it. It's my fault that that problem happened. And then it's like, my brother would treat me like crap, but he'd roll out a red carpet for my sister. And the same
Mm,
went for her. She would treat me like crap, but she'd roll out a red carpet for my brother. And that's why my father would have nothing to do with it, and my mother, she didn't see anything odd.
right.
Everybody else in the world. And it's like I just got treated horribly, absolutely
Hmm.
horribly. And my little sister, she was like the joy, everything. She used to drive around high all the time. And I drove drunk once, got caught, which I'm thankful for. Never
Yeah.
did it again. Even after that, years after that, my sister, she got her own car. She said, everybody gets to drive this except for Sarah.
Oh,
And that, to me, that I was just like, okay, what? Everybody
yeah,
else was like, holy crap. And I was like, yeah, I deal with this all the time.
totally.
And she would drive that car stoned. She hotboxed the car, driving me. I had to stay at a house and regarding my lawsuit out in East Van, and she hotboxed her car as we drove out there, and I don't remember getting from the car inside the house. I just
Wow.
remember being in the car getting so friggin' stoned. I wasn't a pop person after my accident. And then the next thing I remember is waking up in the house. I was just like, okay. I don't know how
Yeah,
the
like
hell
how do you drive?
she did it all the time. She told me about one time her and her friends were trying to find something to do, and she always had a large amount of pot in the glove compartment.
Hmm.
And a police officer came over to them to find out what they were doing and asked to see her the car insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, "How do I get that out of the glove compartment without the cop seeing the pot?"
Ah,
And
yeah.
I forget what happened, but something happened where she was able to do it. He didn't see the pot, and they were told to just move on.
Hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of I struggled with this too, where it was like unfairness, I guess, as a child. Like you were always the black sheep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Well, for the first 3 years and 10 days of my life, my mother loved me, but after that, no.
When your sister was born?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I
and
can
it's
relate to
like
that.
I remember she was the runt. She would get teased about being the runt. She always ear infection. She had to wear glasses and a patch. And I had a mother that would buy her toys, and I remember the stickers. She always got all these things just to get her to wear her glasses and her eye patch. She got
Mm.
whatever she wanted. And there was this one time I think we were living in either Ontario or Alberta, and we took the train here to Vancouver. Well, not here, it's
Yeah,
Vancouver.
yeah.
And they were playing bingo, and I won. And I got this Via Rail plastic bag, but if you blow it up, you can use it as a pillow.
Okay.
And my sister, this was completely normal. She started screaming and crying, and she would not stop. So to shut her up, the guy finally gave her something. He gave her an ashtray,
An ashtray.
and that shut her up. And
Yeah.
it's like after that, I remember trying to get my mother tried to get me a free pair of skis. He had to show up, but this was like decades and decades ago,
Yeah.
in my bathing suit, the middle of winter, to the ski shop. I was the second person, so I didn't get the skis, but I got to pick a record, and
Mm.
I went through them. I'm like, oh, Eurythmics, and so I love the Eurythmics. So I grabbed that, and then my sister starts screaming and crying, and she won't shut up. And then to shut her up, they said, okay, we'll let you pick her record. And so she shut up. And that's how it was our whole
Yeah.
lives. I don't know if she remembers any of it, but I remember all of it. It's like when I got something, she would scream and cry and not shut up until somebody gave her something. And then
Yeah.
when she got that, she would shut up.
Yeah.
It went right
Yeah,
into
that's
her 30s, too.
oh wow. You're like it never changed.
And it's like,
Oh my gosh.
I saw it till the day I didn't have anything to do with her. And I hear it. The one thing I heard, she had a son. He is like the god of her life because her son was born. My brother, the girlfriend he was with, who I'm very, very close to her, they had a son.
Hmm.
And back in early 2000. And when my sister got pregnant, her son was delivered the exact same day as our nephew,
Mm.
our brother's son. And
Yeah.
my brother to my sister is like he is her god. He is everything. So
Mm.
to have a child the same day he had a child only 10 years later is just
Yeah.
like, oh. And I felt so bad because the way I found out was later in the day. I was the last person to find out. The person to tell me was my sister's best friend. She had to phone me and tell me. And I could hear it in her voice. And I have had many discussions. I've stayed friends with her because she is wonderful. She's put up with my sister. And she had to phone me and say, your sister had her son today. And
Mm.
like, she didn't want to do that, but she knows my sister well enough and she had
Yeah.
to. And I was just, ew.
Yeah.
It was annoying, and I've seen him. I've met him once, I think, once or
Okay.
twice,
And you don't
and
have
that's
kids,
it.
right?
No,
No.
we
Anything you
were.
ever wanted?
Yeah, I wanted kids, and I just all of a sudden it seems like us women, when we hit our 30s, that kind of it's like let's have kids. I
Yeah,
don't.
I desperately don't want kids, but I'm 32 and I find every year I get a slightly more like, oh, look at that little baby when I'm like at a restaurant or whatever. And I'm like, no, Lori, stop it. You don't want this.
I never wanted kids. I never wanted kids, and then I hit 30, and it was because of the way I was raised.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah. And I don't want to pass on everything that's wrong with me because there's plenty.
Well, when I hit 30, it's like all of a sudden, bing, I want babies.
Yeah.
We tried for a number of years. I had five
Oh,
when I was going through in my second month, I would have a
yeah.
miscarriage,
Mm,
and found out I could get pregnant, but my body could not carry the
right.
baby to full term because of my accident. My hips were knocked out of place, and it was doing damage to
Oh,
my back, and it's just my body would just kick it
yeah.
out.
Just reject it. Yeah.
And
Oh.
then I was like, that I've had enough. I've had enough. And then I
Mm.
found out I was in perimenopause.
Oh, wow. Really early.
Yeah, because of my accident. And
So what are you allowed to talk about your accident? I know you've had a
yeah,
lawsuit,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
what happened? Because it sounds like it was a very severe accident.
Yeah. Yes and no. It was one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. I
Mm.
was with a boyfriend who was almost 2 years younger than me. I just like younger guys. I always have. I
Hmm.
don't know why. And he he beat me, and I was getting to this point where I didn't know. We were together for over a year, and I life was changing, things were changing, and I didn't know how to live without him. He ran my life and everything. And we had a mutual friend who I was extremely close to. And for some reason, I had to be with my boyfriend that day. He couldn't get rid of me, and he had plans to go biking with a mutual friend.
Hmm.
At one point, I went into the upstairs bathroom, which is next to the kitchen, and I got out a shaver, one of his mom's shavers, and I sliced up my arms with the
Mm.
razor, which I hadn't done for quite some time, thanks to the mutual friend that was there. But he would always say to me, if you do it again, I'm going to cut your face.
Mm.
Um, and then I came out of the bathroom and I went to go down the stairs, and the friend was coming up and he saw it. He said, I'm going to cut your face. And they chased me upstairs, and I tried to lock myself in the bathroom, but they got in. And I actually thought they were going to cut my face,
Hmm.
but they didn't. And then it's like I calmed down. I don't remember much, but I went into the garage where his car was parked to have a smoke. And I was leaning on the car having my smoke, and one of them said something about me being on the car to prevent them
Oh,
from leaving.
okay.
And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so my feet were on the bumper. I put my feet on the bumper, my butt on the hood. They got in the car and they started to drive. And I remembered, I told this to my mother when I was in the hospital, and she had to tell me that it wasn't a dream. I thought it was a dream, that I turned around. I looked at the driver, the friend of mine, and I thought, oh, if I push myself up against the windshield and block his view, he has to stop and let me off. And so I did that. And at the time back then, that was the last thing I remembered. But I vaguely remember going down the street, and I was getting really scared. So I grabbed a hold of the one windshield wiper, and I was trying to grab a hold of the right windshield wiper. That's all I know. But apparently,
Jeez.
I fell
So you
off
weren't
the
even
car.
driving.
No,
You were how? Oh my God. So was it the lawsuit against those two guys?
No. It was the driver. He was charged, and then they went to a preliminary hearing, and then they brought down the charges, and just he was not the problem. That's the whole thing. He
Mm.
did a very, very stupid thing. The problem was my boyfriend. He got to walk away from it, go
Because he
home,
was in the passenger
no
side.
problems. Yeah, he had to go to court for the preliminary hearing, and then I spoke to the driver because I was very close to him before, and afterwards I spoke to him and I said, "What would you do if I sued you? Would you be mad at me?" He was like, "No, sue me because it's going to come out of
Mm.
ICBC." And so I did. If he had said something differently, it would have been different. And we had a lawyer that was a friend of the family, and then I can't, couldn't have been a year later, less than a year later, I had this thing inside of me, like saying, get a new lawyer. And I mentioned it to
Mm.
my parents, and they said, if you want a new lawyer, we'll make appointments and get a new. Went to have interviews with a couple lawyers, and one was this lawyer who keeps the drunk people driving. And I didn't want him, but he phoned us that evening and said, phone your lawyer and tell him you want a copy of your writ statement.
Hmm.
My dad spoke to him. He's like, what? He said, just phone your lawyer and say you want a copy of your writ statement by midnight. And so my dad did that. Well, that lawyer saved my ass, because the first lawyer I had that was a family friend, a writ statement is when you, like with a lawsuit, you have a certain amount of time to do the writ statement. Once that is done, that's saying I'm going to sue. But if it's
Right.
after a certain
Yeah,
date, you can't.
you've lost your ability. Yeah.
Right. Well, if that lawyer didn't tell us to do that or tell my dad to do that, my dad didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to sue because the
Holy crap.
deadline was that midnight and that lawyer saved my ass. So
Yeah.
I hired him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair, fair.
Well, yeah, I hired him. My life went down the drain. Last time I saw him, I had this big meeting at his office. I was high on cocaine, and uh, he screamed his head off at me. And I stood up, excused myself, went into the bathroom, did a few lines of cocaine, and then went outside. Everybody in the room would come out one after the other. Like one would come out, then 5 minutes later, they all
Like
said
to
the
check on
same.
you?
No, to leave. And they all
Oh,
said the
okay.
same thing to me. You need to fire him and get a new lawyer, including the woman who represented ICBC. She said, you have to fire him and get a new
Mm,
lawyer. Because when you sue somebody, your lawyer works for you. You don't work for
yeah,
them.
yeah,
So he had no right to scream at me.
yeah.
So I fired him, and it was mostly my mom who got another lawyer because she wanted to be rid of the whole thing. She wanted to be rid of
Yeah,
me.
just
She
get it
wanted to
over
be
with.
rid of everything. She just wanted her share of the money and then walk away.
And why would she
And
get money?
because she was my mother and my father, the way it was going to come out is I would get a chunk of money and they would each get a certain amount of money for the years having to take care of me afterwards, even though they never took
Oh,
care of me.
right, 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 right.
And that's all she wanted was the money. That was it. We went to Dawson City. We stayed there 3 nights, and we found places to stay, 3 different places. And then Dawson City is the best place. It is.
Like Dawson Creek?
Dawson Creek is in British Columbia. It's on the border
Where's
with.
Dawson City?
Dawson City is way up in the Yukon, and it's on the
Oh,
border
okay.
with Alaska.
Oh, okay.
I. It is the best. And
Okay.
so we came home. When we got back to his place, my brother phoned my dad. He spoke to him and then passed the phone to me. And what it was, the reason why my brother took me to Dawson City is because my dad had phoned him that Friday saying, you need to put her in hiding.
Mm,
Because the law settlement, they had come to a settlement and they were going to make the settlement. And what was going to happen is reporters are going to read it and come hunting me down. So he had to
mm.
put me in hiding. That's the one place nobody knows Dawson City.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing.
So I was in. That's why I found out what was going on is they were keeping me in hiding, and I still wasn't allowed to talk to anybody, and I didn't know why. And a friend of mine sent me uh, an article that was written about me, and that writer, both him and were very lucky. I was in the Yukon and not down here in BC because I wanted to go after him and kill him.
Oh, wow. What did the article say?
It actually, I still have it. I should have gotten it out. It talks about me being like doing a lot of drugs, a lot of acid,
Mm,
vacuum, and it says. And it says that I got $1.2 million, and I'm this mentally ill, this severely mentally ill person, and I was
mm.
just like, that's why I wanted to kill him because that's
Yeah.
it. It was not about like it, I was
Yeah,
like,
that has
that's
nothing to
not
do with it.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of acid before my accident and after. I did a lot of acid, but I stopped,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was so irate about it. But as time went on, I've gotten to the point where I laugh at it
Hmm.
because my brother would do a lot of articles for the newspaper, and I
Mm.
kind of got into that for quite some time, writing things and getting it all published. And I've learned, yeah, you just laugh at what
Yeah.
people write about you. You just laugh at it, and
Yeah, you
I've
can't take
laughed
it
at a
too
lot.
personally. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the
Oh.
guy who wrote about me, I've tried to find him, and I have found him, and he now lives in Toronto. Or he did when I moved up here and got settled and everything, because I wanted him to take what he originally wrote about me and fix it.
Right. Yeah. Did he respond?
Or at least, oh yeah. He was still working on the paper, but he got promoted and got moved to Ontario. And at the time, he said his wife was suffering with cancer, and he was going through all this. And I'm like, okay, I'll leave it for now. I wrote a letter to him. I still have the letter somewhere too, and I've just left it. Yeah, and like it was like over 20 years ago. I've learned that internet, never look up your own name.
Yeah.
I did that once. This was years ago. My father was living here, and some lawyers in Victoria were using my name about accident brain injuries. This is what happens to you, and they used my name. And I'm like, I was like, if you guys wish. And so I wrote to them and I told them, number one, I'm married. Number two, I've been married for over 2 decades. And because in their thing, they say that you'll never get married, you're always single. And I'm like saying this. Now, please take my name out. You don't have my permission to use it.
Yeah, no kidding. Did they?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
just don't Google it again. Yeah. What you don't know can't hurt you. So we're coming up on time here, and I always have one final question for people, which is, what is your favorite part of borderline personality disorder?
Being so caring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have Arrowhead down in town now, which the funny thing is, it when I moved here, it was the police station in that building. Now it's Arrowhead, which is for people who mentally ill, homelessness, like it helps everybody. And it was great going. I went there thinking I was a volunteer and not finding out till quite after that you're not a volunteer, you're a member. And it was very bad communication amongst all of them, but it's a very great place. And I spoke to the man in charge of the place, and he was telling me some things I had to change. And he said to me, you know what? You have to stop being so kind. You're too much of a kind person.
Yeah.
And after that, and something else that happened, I was like, I can't change the way I can't stop unless I was being paid for it. I can't be a mean. If I was being paid for it, it would be very difficult to be a mean person. But it's just people telling me I'm just too kind. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a hell of a lot better than being not kind.
Yes, 100%. It is very challenging because for me at least, I take on other people's emotions and problems, right? Because I'm too kind or like too empathetic, I guess, in some ways. But at the same time, I wouldn't give that up because being kind and empathetic is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, it was so nice getting to know you better. I'm so glad that we got to spend this time. And yeah, I feel like we're so close yet so far. It feels like. Well, if I'm ever up there, I'll let you know and we can have coffee or something. That would be fun. Thank you so much for listening to the Superfeeler podcast. This episode was recorded on the traditional and unceded territory of the Matsqui and Sumas First Nations. If you'd like to learn more about the Superfeeler podcast, share your story, or participate in the Superfeelers Club, which is our peer support group, it's totally free, virtual, and open to anyone who experiences intense emotions or has borderline personality disorder, please check out the link in our show notes or go to laurieedmondson.com. If you would like to support the show, we would very much appreciate it. There's an option to do monthly small donations at whatever denomination you'd like, extra resources, and extra connection to me. That can be found on patreon.com/superfeeler or again in the notes below. Thanks again and have a great day.